Hello and welcome to the Slapshot Syndicate podcast. Be sure to subscribe for more content, and whilst you're at it, go and follow our social media pages. They're on screen now. Now, on to the episode.
Hello and welcome to this week's episode of the Slapshot Syndicate. Just me and you this week, Bradders.
Yeah.
Ross is still getting that hair transplant in Turkey.
I can't wait to see his new hair, lads.
Big announcement though, folks. Big announcement. The hair follicles have reacted positively with his head. New hairs are forming as we speak.
Honestly, I don't know what he's playing at. Biggest weekend in hockey so far for us, and he misses it.
Well, but saying that, it hasn't been the best weekend, has it really?
No, a bit of pill to swallow for us, all in all. I mean, Saturday night, we had the home fixture against Telford. We'll come into that.
Yeah.
And then hopes were high for Sunday. But those of you who've seen the score, unfortunately, you weren't meant to be.
No, and this is a great example of the highs and lows of ice hockey, and unfortunately, we're on the bitter end, as we'll come into.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, that's it. So now we'll go into Seahawks React and go over what happened to us. So now we're going to look at the Seahawks weekend and what happened to us. It's not all good. It started positively, as you alluded to, Bradders. So the home game on Saturday for the Hull Seahawks against the Telford Tigers. Stressful game.
Yeah, we was bang up for this though, weren't we?
Yeah, so those of you who obviously follow us have seen our little reels throughout the day where we did a bit of a day in the life sort of thing. It was a bit different for us, but all three of us was hyped, weren't we, really?
Oh yeah, we was hyped, but there was nerves on the. I mean, honestly, like the nerves you saw on camera was legitimate. We genuinely was checking in with each other, weren't we? Every sort of half an hour. How are you feeling now, lads?
Yeah, it was definitely a touch and go sort of day. It just seems to take forever to get to that time where we was travelling to the rink and then finally going in and then
delayed face off.
It was all just there, just to stare at it really, and it all started, getting a bit much and
I missed it as well. Obviously, I'd seen earlier on that face off had been delayed. Completely forgot in all the excitement and in the jobs and stuff I was doing. Turned up to the rink normal time. Was stood in the queue for another half an hour or something. So I was like, I can't believe
at least
this.
it wasn't raining though.
Yeah,
that's the only positive. For those who have visited the Hull Ice Arena, you know that there's no such thing as waiting indoors. So wind, rain or shine, it doesn't matter. You're outside.
Yeah. So I mean, let's get into the game then. So started off relatively neck and neck, wasn't it? No team wanting to give an inch. Only the first goal coming from Telford, 16 minutes in.
Like I say, it was a long while before a goal sort of came, really, and it was, like you say...
Considering when you look at the scoreline and the first goal coming 16 minutes in,
yeah,
it really shows.
Like you say, both teams maybe a bit tentative, holding back a little bit, feel-out process, and like you say, as soon as the goal started coming, that was it, they started coming thick and fast. Like you say, 16 minutes for Telford, and then 17 minutes, sub-track equalised for Hull Seahawks, and then it just started going to and fro, not the sort of night we wanted. No,
definitely not. But Mr. Inevitable himself. I mean, we'll have to say this now. His first two goals unassisted.
Yeah.
Is third goal assisted by Broughton and Stubley, but this man single-handedly carried us through quite a lot of this game.
Yeah, I mean, me and my old man was joking and was like, his back must be killing because he's generally he's carried us all season and he's carried us through the playoffs.
100% right on that, mate. That's exactly it. You only have to look at his statistics throughout this sort of like playoff knockout group to show how well he's done. Yeah, I think he's got 16 points overall. in this playoff round and
3 back-to-back hat tricks.
3 back-to-back hat tricks.
That's unbelievable, and still for your team not to qualify with that sort of start is.
Yeah, well, to be honest with you, I feel like we've done a bit of an injustice by not. He's obviously dragged us through a lot of this, and which is harsh to say, but with the likes of him, there's a couple of exceptions. Specs had some good games. Johnny Corneal, Bones. We've got some players that have stood out in these playoffs, but really he's right at the top of the list.
He's been almost another level, hasn't he? Really,
he has,
which you don't know if that was the part and parcel with him being made captain. So obviously with Bobby Chamberlain being suspended for 90% of the playoffs, Subtract was given captaincy and he led by example. He took that C and he ran with it, didn't he? So
Yeah.
fair play to him, and I think every Seahawks fan will be tipping the hat and obviously really glad that he's signed on for another year, because I know for me personally, I didn't expect him to be staying.
No, neither did I, to be honest. And had he been making his decision now post-season, it could have been a different story, I think, with the result. But back into the game, it was neck and neck, one like end to end, goal, but then Telford managed to find a little break and got a good flurry of goals in, and we was actually 6-3 behind at one point. And
I think that was going into the sort of third period, wasn't it? We were 6-3 down, and it looked like it all come to nothing. Dead and buried. Game over on the home game.
We was fuming as fans, didn't
you? Was.
I was absolutely livid. There's some good quality in this team, so I'm gonna say this, but Telford are actually, they're a decent side, but we played down to them. We've played down to them in these games.
I completely agree with what you're trying to say. Me being me, I'll tell it straight as it is. Telford are not on the same level as Hull Seahawks.
No,
on the best day, we should wipe the floor with them. I'm not trying to be disrespectful to Telford. They're obviously a well-established side, been around for a long time. But Hull Seahawks, if they get going, we should be absolutely demolishing the likes of Telford, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And we didn't, like you said, we've played down to it, and we've got into their sort of game. And as much as we've got experienced players, as our Reds got into the, what we're playing for. Yeah.
6-3 down, 7 minutes to go, I think, was on the clock. Yeah. And at that point, it looks dead and buried. Playoff hopes over. Then fans' heads dropping. And then, out of nowhere, really, in comes Johnny Corneal.
Yeah.
Corneal gets us back on the map with our fourth goal.
Yeah.
Then, Lee Bonner, who had an absolutely phenomenal performance, I must say, on Saturday night. He really injected that pace into the game that we needed.
That goal was a joke.
Yeah.
I remember, obviously, desperation, you need somebody to step up. And I remember, whoever initially it was, had played the puck across. It was Hewitt. Played it across, and it almost looked like Brooklyn was coming in back door to tap it in. But instantly, first time pass, back across to Bonner as Brad Day had come across it, and Bonner just taps it into an empty net. And the quality and the composure, especially from the likes of Brooklyn there, and the tap in from Burns was class. And like you say, 6-5 at that point, the place erupted, and all of a sudden the belief came back.
Absolutely fantastic. He just, honestly, we really lacked something, whether it was passion, Matty's head was down on the bench. Don't know if that was more of a case of I can't believe
I'm glad you've brought this up a little bit where you say passion, because we only had 1,200 fans on Saturday.
Yeah.
And I know Saturdays are a bit of a downer night for us, but I thought we'd have had a bit more atmosphere and a bit more presence from the fans, more people turning up. And I'll say this now, because the usual people who sit next to me wasn't there, and I had some new people sat next to me.
Yeah.
And I can tell you now, there was this girl sat next to me, and she had some sort of game like Candy Crush on her phone, and that's all she did all night, was sat there looking at her phone. And I was like, I'm not being funny or out, but this is one of the biggest games of our season to this point.
Yeah.
I'm absolutely dripping in sweat, anxiety, let's have it. And she's playing Candy Crush Saga, and it's just what we're doing here.
I know.
On the biggest of nights, and people are just sent for a night out.
Do you know what it is? I think they rely on the crowd a lot. Whether they should or not, a different story. But when you're in your home ice, you do. The crowd's going to get behind you, and we have moments. If it weren't for the likes of Mr. Colin Carruthers and a couple of other notable mentions, the place could be dead at times. It could be absolutely dead. So you do rely on the crowd a little bit. Like I said, probably more than we should, but at 6-3, you're thinking, there's nothing really to shout for now.
I think a lot of people would have been looking at the exits at that point as well, to be honest.
Pretty much, mate. Yeah, pretty much. Thanks for Lee Bonner. We managed to restore a little bit of belief, and that was just down to him, the way he was playing and the grit and determination he had. So massive well done to him, to be honest.
Yeah, massive well done.
He's a credit to the team.
Yeah, massive well done to Lee Bonner there. So that took us 6-6, and we saw out the 60 minutes and went into the overtime period, which I think there was only we had 3 shots on them, they had 2 shots on us in the overtime period.
Yeah.
So there wasn't a lot of shots. Again, I think it was a bit of, for Seahawks, it was like, we need to try and get the puck and wet this properly.
The thing is, we was playing knowing what was at stake.
Yeah.
Telford didn't have that.
They had the freedom.
Yeah, they had the freedom to play. We needed to get something from it, so you could see we was cautious of it. If it was going to go to shootout, take it to shootout. We've got some good scorers in the team, and that's exactly what happened in the end. Goes to shootout, our nerves are a wreck.
It was a weird one though, wasn't it? Because up to this point, like, my opinion before everybody starts getting upset, but I thought Jordan McLaughlin, who had his first start in the playoffs, I didn't think he had a great game at all, if I'm honest. And I know we said it when we saw the team sheet at 5 o'clock. Oh.
Yeah.
You know, and I think a lot of people also shared the same, what we're doing here.
Yeah. There was a couple of goals that you could argue should have been saved, I think, in that game. And, you know, he's had a bit of time off the ice. He hasn't had much ice time, so probably a little bit of rust there, getting back into it. However, in your big games like this, you need to put your best foot forward, don't you? So,
absolutely.
Didn't fill you with confidence, seeing that on the team sheet, but, luckily he came in clutch for us in the shootout.
Yeah, absolutely.
Saved every single shot.
Yeah, so Johnny Corneal went first for us. He stepped up and scored the first shot on the night. Absolutely fantastic. That obviously gave us the foothold. And then, like you say, we started going through and McLaughlin saved everything that was coming at him quite convincingly, to be fair.
Yeah.
But the other end, Brad Day was like, you know what, I'm going to save everything from here now.
Yeah.
And like you say, it was just that one goal swing in it until the man who runs the town.
He does, Jason Hewitt.
Stepped up and there he is, bang, slaps it straight past Brad Day.
Yeah.
2-0 in the shootout, and Hull Seahawks take it.
Yeah, and for context of this, was it last season or a couple of seasons ago where there was a bit of a bench clearance between Sheffield and Hull, and Bobby Chamberlain Obama was giving it to Hewitt, and at the end of the game, the fans are chirping him. He's like, "This is my town. This is my town." So the context of that is he ran the show in that he got the winning goal, and thank God he's in our team.
Yeah, I mean, I've said this all season. I know some eyebrows was raised when we picked up Hewitt. You know, people looking at his age and his best years past him, but he's still a class act.
He's a winner, isn't he?
Yeah, I've said this before. Like, obviously, you and Rossy wasn't around in the scene when Pirates was around, and he guarded us to treble success. So he's a winner. He knows how to win. Bags of experience, played in the elite league, and like you say, even at his age now, he can still get us across the line and get us a big victory. And like you say, the place erupted. We'd won it in the shootout, and all was well and looked bright and sunshine in Seahawks land going into Sunday.
Yeah, the positives of that game was, at that point the rink was erupting. It was a brilliant place to be. You left the arena like absolutely buzzing. I was like, right, bring it on. Let's get into tomorrow.
I think
what will be for the Peterborough Leeds game, but let's take it to them and we'll at least secure ourselves a chance.
I think like the negatives of how we played and how we had to claw our way back sort of went out the man straight away, didn't it? Really, as soon as that whistle went and we'd guaranteed the 2 points, I think, like you say, the only thought was we'd won it. Thankfully.
Yeah, it was like okay, you've had your blip now turn up.
Yeah, we've got 1 foot in the door. All we've got to do is go to Telford and get a result and hope Leeds do the same again to Peterborough, what they did on Saturday. So then that took us to the Sunday away game.
Yeah.
So I believe all 3 of us bought the stream for this, so we was watching along, wasn't we?
We did, yeah. And I was quietly confident going into this game, to be honest. I thought, we know they're giving us a game the night before, but coming into this, given what we just got away with, I thought, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. You'd all let it happen twice.
Absolutely. And do you know what we did? We started the right way Sunday. We took the lead through Emil Svek. Just under 5 minutes played, bang, we was in the lead, and that's what we needed. I remember saying to my old man who came to watch it at Man, I says, like, as long as we get that first goal, we're almost in control then, and then we can dictate how the game goes, and that's where we needed it. And we took the lead, but it only lasted 3 minutes, and Telford came back at us.
Yeah, they quickly got that goal back, and then equally as quick, we managed to get the lead again. Only 2 minutes after they scored, we went back ahead, and that saw us going into the first intermission 2-1 up. So quietly confident again, thinking, okay, I knew that, I've said this before, second period seems to be where we blip. Mm-hmm. We always seem to have a bad second period.
Yeah.
And I think that's the difference, where we could secure the game and have it dead and buried. We just, for some reason, come out and let them come at us and attack us, and that's exactly what Telford thought they was going to do, and to their credit, they did to a certain degree. We talk about the end result. It was a high-scoring game. It was 9-7 to Telford, for those of you.
I just want to stop you there, because I know we talked before we started, and we did exactly what Telford did to us the night before. So we went 4-1 up in this game, didn't we? And I remember just almost sitting back in my chair and just like, oh, here we go.
Yeah.
Telford won't fancy it now.
Business
4-1 over the hill. See this game out and keep an eye on Peterborough and Leeds and see what's what. And like you say, it's 9-7 it finished, and we just literally went boosh straight over the cliff.
Yeah.
Telford came back, pulled it right back, and was it about levelish 4-4, something like that at the end of the second period.
So there wasn't much in it, was there?
No.
Yeah. And obviously, I think after the first period, to note that Peterborough and Leeds, I think, was tied 3-3.
Yeah.
So obviously, the boys was knowing that it was still live, they could still qualify. So we needed the win. I think we finished the second, and it was again quite equal. After the second intermission, that must have been when
it had been confirmed.
It had been confirmed. The news had broke that Peterborough had beat Leeds, so heads had probably dropped. The only way we could have gone through at that point was through goal difference, but we needed like a 8 goal swing or something.
Which didn't look likely, did it?
Which didn't look likely. The way the game was going, it was end to end. You could see that it was probably a bit too far-fetched.
Yeah.
Heads must have been low. Well, it definitely was. It started getting a little bit grittier, I think, in that third period. There was a little bit more roughing and stuff getting called. So, it was ugly, really.
Yeah.
Ugly scenes for us. And unfortunately, me and you stuck it out to the end, didn't we, to watch it through? But
yeah, I was always going to watch it to the end. Regardless, that's me in a nutshell. If my team's even getting walloped, I'll still be there to watch them, because that's the support I have for my team. Like you say, disappointing result in the end. The only thing I'd like to note as well is Emil Svek also took a nasty fall after he tried to coast in on the keeper's crease.
Yeah.
Took a right heavy fall, was down for a little while, and then went off the ice.
Tried to come back on.
He tried to come back on, and his first shot after that, he seemed to do something. I don't know if it was something to do with his wrist or whatnot.
Yeah, it was folded, wasn't it?
Yeah, so
straight off the ice
I can only
changing rooms.
And wish all the best to Emmy there.
I hope it's nothing too serious and you can recover.
You don't want that at the end of a season, do you? It obviously didn't look nice for him. He was in a lot of pain, and we just wish him all the best, and hopefully we hear something soon about that. Like I say, he has been great for us again this season. Whether he stays or not, I don't know. That's obviously to be seen.
Yeah.
But yeah, we wish him all the best and big recovery on that one there.
Yeah. So game ended then 9-7. Telford Tigers already lost, but great to see so many Seahawks fans out in force travelling to Telford.
Yeah.
You could hear them on the stream. Just want to mention as well how bad Telford's stream was. Something needs to happen with that. We was going and people was tweeting, so through the commentary they were saying, players are saying it was lagging. I don't know what it was like for you, but it was very laggy for me.
I wasn't too bad, to be fair.
It was just what I noticed is like from the angles from both goals, perfect, fine. The one that was up and the camera moving, when it was panning across me, you couldn't see it, the thing, what was happening, and then the mics crackling.
Yeah.
They was doing the announcements either right next to him or it was the same
I
person
think the same guy was doing the arena announcements as he was commentary, and it was just a bit like, ooh.
Yeah, the feedback he was getting on it, so just, I'm not going to bash you too much, but I think a little bit of work needs to go into Telford's streaming service.
Yeah, absolutely. But, I think we'll leave it there. I think we've talked enough.
We have, yeah.
We've given it the big in here. I think we could talk a lot more about this, and we certainly will.
Yeah,
You know?
it's some of that's obviously close to our hearts, isn't it?
Yeah.
We have talked about this no end,
Yeah.
you and Al's, but that's all we're giving you for today on that one.
Yeah, so now we're going to move into looking at the results and the outcome of the playoffs.
Yeah.
So now we're going to look at the results from the full weekend, Bradders, and as we've talked about our beloved Seahawks, we know how things went, but let's have a look and see what happened in the other groups and the other fixtures.
Yeah, a couple of clubs have still some of it to play for coming into this weekend, us being one. Obviously, Peterborough knew that they needed to try and secure some points for them to go through. Romford needed to try and take the charge to Swindon, and Milton Keynes really needed to secure what they needed to secure.
Yeah, so just before we get into it, Milton Keynes and Romford was both sitting on 5 points, I believe, at this point.
Yeah, you're right.
So, depending on how the results went, it could have been either one of those going through, and as we knew as well, it was either us or Peterborough.
Yeah.
So the fixture started on Friday, so it was Sheffield Steel Dogs hosting Milton Keynes Lightning. So big away day for Milton Keynes here.
Yeah, definitely. And I can't remember if it was a Sunday, the Saturday or the Friday, but I think it was a Saturday, and in one of the games, Sheffield actually went up. So, but obviously on the Friday night, it was quite a convincing result from Milton Keynes, 5-1 in the end.
Yeah, Sheffield have obviously been really poor in this playoff knockout phase that we're playing in at the moment. So it was just one of those where, as long as Milton Keynes kept their heads on, it should have been a formality really, and it turned out that way with a convincing 5-1 win.
Yeah, definitely. So they I think at that point they sort of secured what they needed to secure, didn't they?
Yeah, it obviously, the Friday night, Milton Keynes winning that put them in a great leading position in their group, and it was just sort of eyes on Swindon and Romford to see what would happen. So obviously that takes us into Saturday's fixtures, the first fixture being Hull Seahawks and Salford Tigers, which
we just talked about.
Yeah, Seahawks taking that 7-6 in the shootout. Next fixture, Swindon Wildcats and Romford Raiders, so this was the one that was being watched. And Swindon continuing their dominance, taking a 6-2 victory there.
Doing the job again, aren't they? I mean, they're looking unstoppable. I think these are going to be the team to beat.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I can't wait to see what they do next season as well, to be honest with you. But this weekend, they've again shown what they're about and stopped Romford in their tracks.
Yeah.
Where they thought they had an opportunity, they've just shut that door. Yeah. On them. Maybe on the Sunday, not quite. There was still a bit of hope there, but so then we had the Peterborough Phantoms and the Leeds Knights, and Leeds really took it to Peterborough. 5-1 win, so I don't know what happened there.
Especially in Peterborough as well, that's a big result that for Leeds.
I think we was sort of thinking that if the way these results could have gone is that it'd have been a home ice thing.
Yeah, absolutely,
We're complete opposite in the end. So what the hell do we know?
We should just pack this in. We don't know sort of all apparently. So that then left the final fixture on the Saturday, which was Milton Keynes and Sheffield again, and Milton Keynes taking this one 4-2, so a bit closer. And seeing obviously Swindon beat Romford 6-2, Milton Keynes knew there was pretty much there, and then beating Sheffield again, that solidified their place in the Coventry. Yeah,
so that tied up that group. Swindon, LMK through, so the Sunday fixture was essentially a free hit, wasn't it? Try a few things.
That group there was pretty much just sort of playing games out and probably just for entertainment watching our group really with something still to play for. So Sunday's fixtures started. The first fixture on the night was Leeds Knights and Peterborough Phantoms. Obviously this one flipping the other way around as you mentioned, and obviously not in the favour of Seahawks. Peterborough Phantoms taking this one 5-3.
Yeah, sad to see, especially with it being so close. It was neck and neck for a while there, wasn't it? Cause,
I had
1-2.
Yeah, I had the notifications on for this one as I was watching the Hull Seahawks stream, and it seemed very end to end, maybe slightly more in favour of Peterborough, knowing what they had to do. I kept seeing a lot of chance.
Yeah.
It was I think Harrison Walker's been very good in goal for Leeds Knights this season.
Sam Gospel.
No, he isn't. And do you know what? I think he had his work really cut out for him in this game here, because I think he got absolutely pummeled with shots. And fair play to Peterborough. They knew what they had to do. They took it to Leeds, probably one of the hardest teams to go and get something from. All on the line, and they've done what they had to do. So fair play to them.
Yeah, and let's just point out now, as devastating it is for Seahawks fans, we do have a lot of credit for Peterborough. They've come out, shown what they're about, and had our game gone the way there would have literally just been goal difference in it, and they would have still come out on top. So they did the job.
Yeah, that's it. Obviously, you and Rossy talked to Nathan Salem, and he obviously mentioned the preparation, the plan in place, what they'd had for the playoffs, and they've executed it. I think still for me, the toughest group.
Yeah, definitely.
And it showed it like going right to the end like that and potentially being decided on goal difference. But we'll talk about that a little bit more once we come to the standings. So the next game on the Sunday, Romford Raiders at home to Swindon Wildcats.
Yeah. You obviously we just mentioned this was a bit of a free throw for both teams. It was Romford's last game at home, so they wanted to put on a performance. Swindon, not really looking at this game, looking ahead, but still wanted to top the group. So
yeah, absolutely. Like you say, it was a free hit for Swindon. For me, they probably would have just wanted to still win that to be the only team that did secure the maximum points in the
which
in the
they
group
managed,
phase, which they have managed. And we'll just note here, but 2 assists for Rennie Ma.
Yeah, phenomenal.
Which is crazy.
Yeah.
That's quality. That love to see that. And then that obviously left just the final fixture, which was the Telford Tigers hosting the Hull Seahawks.
Which we've gone through again, so we'll go straight into the standings.
Straight into the standings, see how it finally looked in the end. So, all said and done, Group A, Leeds Knights topped, 6 played, 9 points. Second place, also going to Coventry, was the Peterborough Phantoms, 6 played, 8 points. Third place, Hull Seahawks, 6 played, 6 points. And Telford Tigers, 6 played, 5 points. So it was, like you say, we mentioned it could have been all or nothing. Telford, fair play to them, ended up with 5 points there. It made it a lot closer because, between them and Sheffield in the other group, they looked like they might have just been whipping boys in there just to make up the numbers sort of thing.
And we knew, coming into playoffs, they're a different team to theirs, so on paper, you'd think to beat them, but this playoff hockey, anything can go. I think you mentioned before this podcast, and it's worth noting now that Seahawks, they want to try and get through in these games, they need to concede less. We was one of the second highest scoring in this group, but the second highest conceding as well.
Yeah.
So
that's it. We was the joint second top goal scorers out of both groups in the playoffs, but like you say, we conceded the second most. And it's just been a same old for Hull Seahawks. Unfortunately, we're great going forward and scoring goals, but we're leaking at the back, and it comes back to that mentality of it's rock and roll hockey, and we're just having to play to outscore teams. And for me personally, I just don't think it's good enough, and you can't win titles like that.
No, you need to have a bit more consistency in it, don't you? But we'll move on then into Group B. That was Swindon Wildcats. They're in first position, maximising their points on 12 points after 6 games. Milton Keynes Lightning securing that second position and the final place for the Coventry playoffs in that group, playing 6, securing 9 points. Romford Raiders unfortunately missing out with 6 games played and 6 points, and Sheffield Steel Dogs playing 6 and not managing to convert a point.
Yeah, so just to drag this piece out a bit longer, for me, that is how I saw Group A finishing. I did put Seahawks to finish third. Unfortunately, we certainly give it a good go, but it wasn't meant to be in the end. And my biggest, the team that disappointed me the most was Sheffield Steel Dogs.
Oh, absolutely.
I had Romford to finish bottom of that group, and Sheffield's 6-0 is really, really poor. I know they maybe didn't expect to get in that second first spot, but they've just sort of not done anything. Yeah, as bad as that sounds.
Romford have embarrassed them, haven't they? And they're someone who they should be given a game. So
but I think it's just worth noting there on that. As much as Sheffield didn't get any points, they still actually conceded less than Hull Seahawks.
Yeah.
So like you say, all this statistical data, it does show in the end. Unfortunately, it was just they couldn't score goals enough. Sheffield.
But there we go. So that's wraps that up. So just to recap, going to Coventry, you've got Leeds Knights, Peterborough Phantoms, Swindon Wildcats, and Milton Keynes Lightning.
And that concludes the group phase and the fixtures and results. And we'll talk about the playoffs itself in our big talking point. So before we get into our big talking point this week, we're going to do our usual player of the week, but we're also going to flavour it up some more and do our sort of player of the playoff games as well. So we've sort of had a look this week and we've gone for a bit of a different one, haven't we, Bradders, for the player of the week?
We have, yeah. You mentioned it slightly earlier on, but I don't think you can overlook this sort of achievement for Anetti.
Yeah.
I'll let you do the honours.
Yeah, so our player of the week this week, as you just alluded to there, is a netminder, and it goes to Rennie Marr.
Yeah, absolutely phenomenal performance. I mean, two assists in one night for Anetti is just absolutely unbelievable things to see. So it was obviously on Saturday against the Raiders, and another mention is that Swindon were the only teams to lock out all the points, which
he's a big part of that, isn't he? Really, 12 out of 12, and I can't think how many times we've had him as the player of the week.
No.
Team of the week, throughout the season. He's been absolutely class.
Yeah.
And like you say, just seeing them 2 assists just shows his mind is completely in the game, and he's seeing the reading of the game. He can pick players out. He's stopping goals going in. I think he's absolute top draw.
Yeah, I know you really like him anyway.
Yeah.
You as a netminder.
Yeah, I think he's absolute class, and he thoroughly deserves it.
Yeah.
So well done, Rennie. And all the best going into the playoffs in Coventry.
Yeah, so that brings us on to the player of the playoff groups. We've done this to try and flavour it up a little bit, because obviously we're at the end of the knockout stages now, really.
Yeah.
Obviously before the Coventry weekend, so we're looking at the scores on the doors, who's really stood out to us, and there is one individual that sort of had flown under the radar in the league, but has really...
Yeah, we were saying this. I think he's sort of a guy who's a bit of an unsung hero, really.
He gave us some trouble.
He did, considering we played this guy's team, and he was quality. He was the difference in the end, and he's not a guy who I would say he's the guy for that team.
No.
So we'll stop,
We'll start rambling, we'll announce it. So... the player of the playoff groups is Matt Bissonette from the Leeds Knights.
Yeah.
He finished the groups with 17 points, and it was 5 goals, 12 assists. So absolute class performance. And again, they topped the group. So hats off to him. He seemed to be the difference in quite a lot of games. His name was popping up here, there, and everywhere.
Yeah. So Leeds only lost initially before the Peterborough game. Was Hull, and like you say, in the double header against Hull, he was quality, wasn't he?
Yeah,
like you say, he was involved, he was scoring goals, he was creating them. His 17 points, as you mentioned, was the highest in the group phase there, only to Owen Sobchak,
who needs to get mentioned.
Yeah, he was so close to getting this. The only reason we didn't pick him was the fact that Hull Seahawks didn't make the Coventry weekend. It'd be a bit weird to pick somebody who isn't going to be in the final 4, but just to note there, Sobchak did finish 16 points with 3 hat-tricks.
In 3 games,
yeah,
which was crazy. But yeah, well done, Matt. Good luck in the playoffs.
Yeah, absolutely.
Give them hell.
Give them hell. Give us a bit more entertainment. Well done to everybody who made it to Coventry. So now we're going to get into our big talking point. We've decided this week that we're not really going to focus on any main topic or anything like that, or take away from the shine of what this weekend coming up is all about. Exactly, yeah. And this weekend is the Coventry playoff finals. Yeah,
so we've got the final 4. Like as I said, we didn't want to take the shine away from what this spectacle that's upcoming, and we really wanted to shine more of a light on it. So let's talk about the fixtures upcoming first and foremost.
Yeah,
we've
absolutely.
got the first semi-final at the afternoon session is Swindon Wildcats against the Peterborough Phantoms. It's going to be a fantastic performance, and then we've got the evening fixture, or the late afternoon fixture of Leeds Knights and the Milton Keynes Lightning. So I'll throw it back to you. What do you think's happening in the Swindon Wildcats Phantoms game?
Well, obviously, I didn't have Swindon to top that group initially. When we was doing the the predictions, and I went for Milton Keynes, but Swindon have been absolute top draw, to be fair, in that group. Obviously, you talked to Tyler Plews and stuff, and he seemed really relaxed. He was happy with the project and what Swindon are building, and I think that's shown there. That, you know, I know they finished third in the league. That was really positive in my opinion. 6 out of 6 wins in the playoffs, and going to Coventry potentially as favourites.
Yeah, well, I was literally just going to mention, you know, you've got what I would consider now the favourites in Swindon Wildcats against the reigning, defending champions, Peterborough Phantoms that weekend. So it's going to make for a fantastic game to start the weekend off.
Yeah.
Prediction wise, we know these games. You know,
everything sort of goes out the window, like you say.
Everything on
big ice pad.
Yeah.
You know, in the Coventry Sky Dome.
Big crowds.
Yeah, it's an away day for all involved.
Neutral, I love it.
I'm still going to go Swindon. I sort of laughed at you when you put Swindon down to win in your prediction, but do you know what? There's a part of me now that wants to back that. I really like Swindon. I like what they're doing. And I love an underdog story. Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, we've interviewed 2 players from both of these teams. We've interviewed Tyler Plews so far and Nathan Salem from the Peterborough Phantoms. Like both of them, sort of slightly rooting for both players. You know, we've got an affection to both of them, but in my head and my heart, I'm going Swindon for this one. Yeah. Obviously, I predicted them to win the playoffs, and I'm going to stand by it now. I think they've been phenomenal. I genuinely think they're only getting better from what they've produced, and that's what you need in a team. You know, when people other teams start slowing down because fatigue and stuff starts creeping in, they're just fucking rising.
Yeah,
they're just on the up, aren't they? So, Swindon for me on that one. I don't know how it's going to play out. I wouldn't like to predict the score.
No, I wouldn't. I wouldn't be able to predict a score. I think.
You got Hayden Levine against Rennie Marr.
And he's been pretty decent as Hayden Levine. And like I say, Rennie Marr, we've said about him being the player of the week. He's been player of the week for us for many weeks now. He's top draw. It's a real tough one to call. Like I say, I'm not going to put a score on this. I'm just going to go straight up Swindon to go through on this one.
Yeah, like you said, I don't think it'd be. It would be either harsh to try and make each other.
I don't think it'd do the game any justice. You want to turn up and it be unpredictable, and like you say, people spend good money to get to the playoffs, and whatever happens. If it's an all-out brawl and it's 7-7, 8-8, you love it, don't you? Especially as a neutral, as a lot of our fans will be. So
really looking forward to this one, but. That means we're both in agreement there, so we'll move on to the Leeds Knights and the Milton Keynes fixture in the afternoon. So I mean,
first versus second from the league. I think Leeds have had the upper hand on these fixtures more often than not. Obviously, towards the end of the season when it really mattered, Leeds, I think it was 3-1 they took it.
But worth mentioning as well, both of the sets of these fans are going to be out in force, aren't they? In full swing. We know Milton Keynes have got quite good coverage at Coventry, so that's going to play a part. But in my head, I'm going Leeds Knights on this one.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go for Leeds as well. There's a part of me that I was a little disappointed with Milton Keynes not taking their group by the scruff of the neck and winning it. And I think they probably would have wanted to now, seeing that. No disrespect again, but Peterborough would have been a slightly easier draw than Leeds. You know, at least definitely a chance of being in the final on the Sunday. I'm going to go for Leeds on this one. And do you know what? I think Leeds might just put this to bed quite early on in the game.
I can see it, to be honest. I don't think Milton Keynes in these past couple. I know they've secured that fixture, but we've not seen their best hockey.
No.
Really, and I think Leeds could capitalise on that.
Absolutely. I think. Out of the 2 games, I think this one will be the more separating game in terms of the goal scoring. I think Leeds will take this one quite early. I think Milton Keynes will get caught up in the moment.
Yeah.
And what's happening around them. Whereas Leeds being there, done it, and I think they'll cruise into the final personally.
Yeah. So if our predictions are right, then we've got a Swindon Wildcats and a Leeds Knights final on the Sunday.
Yeah. So it'll be a great final. That would be a tough call to make. Like you say, the project, the up and coming, the guys who have making something of themselves, the underdog, that they're going to take it, or is it the same old Leeds Knights do a treble?
Well, I was literally just going to mention they're going to be well up for that if they get into the final, knowing that they can win the treble, and then they'll be able to throw it back at Hull, for their treble winning victory in 2019.
Yeah, with the Hull Pirates, they did the treble, and for another Yorkshire team to do it, for Yorkshire teams, it's good. Would we want somebody else from Yorkshire having that same sort of mantle? No, we wouldn't.
I was going to say, let's be honest with this, no, we wouldn't. But
no, absolutely not.
No, we'll appreciate the good hockey if that comes to fruition. Both of these teams know how to play. Again, though, like I said earlier, in my heart, I'm going Swindon on this. I think they'll upset them. To be honest with you.
Yeah, I think I'm the same. Heart says Swindon. Head says logically Leeds for the treble. But yeah. I would love for Swindon to do it. Like you say, if we can have 2 years in a row where somebody who's not expecting to win it, I think that makes obviously the Coventry playoff finals what it is. When you can't call it, I think it makes it far better as a spectacle.
Yeah. All in all, it's going to be a fantastic round-up to the end of this season thing. Like we've mentioned, gutted that we're not going to be there, but it's still a spectacle for the ice hockey, for the NIHL. So I'm really looking forward to it. Yeah. We've all got our hoodies.
I was just going to bring that up. Yeah. So obviously for the Final Four weekend, every team got those sort of special hoodies where it had the Coventry Final Four on the front, and then you could get your club's sort of logo on the back.
Yeah.
I thought it was absolutely bang on. What did you think?
Oh, yeah, spot on. We were straight on it. In fact, we was looking days before because we'd seen, obviously, some started going for sale on the NIHL website and was like, Jesus Christ, all the Seahawks ones are sold out. What we're going to do?
I thought like the sort of setup of these was pretty poor, like you say.
Yeah.
The Seahawks ones showed us as sold out, sort of the only ones that was sold out. Everybody else's seemed to be available. And then when the Seahawks themselves actually said, "Oh, you can get these hoodies," you had to click pick up, put the address as Coventry, and then you could select delivery.
Yeah. I was going to just say it's worth mentioning if there's any of you out there that's had a look at trying to buy these and seen they're out of stock, go on. Choose to pick up from Coventry, and then you can go into delivery, or you can choose to actually pick it up at the Sky Dome. But pressing that should sort of unlock
all the sizes
to be able to order. So just worth throwing out there and mentioning as a tip that we managed to find out quite late on.
Yeah, but I think they're absolutely bang on, and I think it'd be really nice. I think it'd be a little job for you and Rossy when you go to the Coventry finals. I'd like to see all the hoodies. I think it would look mint in each of the blocks if you could see fans with all them hoodies on. I think they'd be absolutely top draw.
And in fairness to Planet Ice and stuff, I think that's what they've tried to do here, the NIHL and stuff, is they've just looked at this and thought, well, we could easily get the colours of each team around the rink by just getting people wearing the same thing. So hats off to them, kudos. It's a really good idea. I can't wait to get mine. It's a nice bit of merchandise to.
I don't know when they're getting shipped out or whatnot. If obviously you've already got yours by being delivered, I mean, absolutely send us some pictures so we can see you wearing them, because that'd be absolutely quality to see. I'm a big fan of these. I remember when I first saw it on the website, I poked you and Rossi was like, "Have you seen these?"
I know, yeah.
I love our grey colour, our logo. Like, say, some of the colours are real obscure. Like, obviously, Telford's being orange, Swindon's red.
Yeah, Leeds is brighter blue.
Yeah. I think, like you say, they really stand out. I know people are going to laugh at us because we're going to have them when we're not even there.
I know.
Imagine having a keepsake like that. You didn't even make it, but it is what it is. Like you say, I don't think we was going to make a big thing out of the big talking point this week. I think the only thing last from me about Coventry is I just hope everybody who goes has a great time. Yeah,
me and Alex are going to be there. We're still working on trying to get Azza there, but we know he's got a few things going on. Give us a shout if you see us around the rink. Say hello. There might be a few stickers, a few pegs and things knocking about. So if you find one, hit us up. Get us on the Instagram. We'd love to hear from you. And if anyone fancies a beer, mine's a lager.
But yeah, absolutely stay safe, enjoy yourselves, don't do anything stupid, and just come together and make this event what it is, and that is everybody from whatever team you support just enjoys it. And
let's round up the season and start. Couple of things to mention, I think, you actually brought this up, so I'll let you crack on with it.
Yeah,
we need
so
to give some big shout outs.
Yeah, so just to move slightly away from our big talking point, I think this is a big thing, and I think every team can get behind this. And personally, from me, from the Slapshot Syndicate, I know every other team has started to do it, but I just wanted to say a big thank you to all the volunteers around the league, around the teams. You know, people don't think of you guys and what you do, but you are the driving force behind merch sales, ticket sales, 50-50 shirt off the back. You know, you guys are giving up your time to do this. I know we've got some great guys at our rink who do it week in, week out, and you know, through doing this, we've actually made a bit of a bond with some of these people, haven't we?
We have, yeah. Just another shout out to Colin Carruthers in our rink, who's an absolutely legend. He's a quality person to be around and have on side. He's there week in, week out, shouting, selling his 50-50. You know, he's greeting everybody as they go, and he really just makes that place feel like
he's a credit to the club, isn't he?
He's a credit to the club. He's a credit to the league. He has time for everybody. He has time for the away fans. So we need more of that in and around the leagues. But yeah, just to reiterate, genuinely massive thank you. What you guys do really makes a difference. You know,
another one that I'd want to name drop is Debbie for us.
Debbie
has been absolutely fantastic. You know, she's in the penalty box every game.
Yeah,
she knows where we are. She can hear us if anything.
Yeah,
you know, she knows we love the banter with the away team players when they're in the penalty box. So again, Debbie, thank you very much. You know, it's been great to obviously get to know you a bit more this season.
Yeah.
Again, just a big thank you to everybody who's done what they've done for their clubs this season. I think that sort of wraps up quite nicely, doesn't it?
Yeah, so we're not going anywhere soon. You know, we're not thinking of putting our mics down and that'll be it until next season. We're going to keep at this. We've got a few good things coming in. Alex, our editor, our normal editor, has put something on the story, I think, today about, you know, what do you want to see us do post-season. You know, we're going to talk about signings. There might be a few activities that we get involved with.
Yeah.
I know one of the options was watching us play hockey. So whether that's we lace up, manage to get on the ice pad and ping a few shots at each other, I don't know. But
Rossy can't skate to save his life, so he would have to play in goal. And I'd love nothing more to just throw loads of pucks at him, to be fair, and just see his reaction, just getting pummeled. It would be absolutely quality. Yeah, absolutely. Don't sleep on us. We're going to be active during the summer. We don't just want to end this season and disappear and come back once the season restarts. We want to be active, especially in the community and doing bits and bobs.
Absolutely. There's some good events going on. We won't give everything away now, but there are some events and we're going to cover
absolutely.
a bit of stuff. So
I think the last thing to sort of notice is we're still doing our competition. We're still trying to get to 500 followers, aren't we?
Yeah.
You know, I know we're sort of 320, 330,
at the minute. So
there's still a bit of way to go, but you know, please just share it with people, you know, family, friends, get them tagged, and we'll soon get to that 500 in no time.
It's not a scam. All you need to do is, you know, you need to, like Alex said, like the post, share it, mention us in your story, and make sure you are following us. Spread the word, tag 3 people in it. We will do a draw as soon as we hit 500, and the shirt of your choice is yours.
And that could even include a new shirt once the new shirts drop for next season. So you could be one of the first people in there with a new shirt, and that could be thanks to us. Yeah,
it could be. All in all, thanks very much, guys. We really appreciate it. We hope you've enjoyed this week's episode, especially without Mr. Ross. But look forward to seeing a lot of you at the Coventry weekend. Like I say hi, stay safe, make sure you travel safe. Let's go and have a good one.
Take care.